I've mentioned this a few times before, but Monolith Soft since 2017 has managed to really dominate the Switch's JRPG space, which is, thanks to no small part, probably also by Nintendo. They've managed to put out several new titles, and old ones as well, while also assisting Nintendo on some bigger titles such as Breath of the Wild, Animal Crossing, Splatoon 3, and even the upcoming Tears of the Kingdom. And now they're here to deliver one final DLC package for Xenoblade 3. So of course the big question is, does this live up to the great big expectations that Monolith Soft has bearing down on them?
Well, kids, now to our apples!
So if you want my primary thoughts for Xenoblade 3, as my opinions have evolved a little bit over the past few months, I firmly believe that it is overall my favorite game in the franchise. It's not perfect, but in my opinion it takes all the lessons and feedback from 1 and 2 and creates a uniquely impressive and good game. For the first time in a while, this game manages to pull off believable romances on top of well-written characters, a well-developed world, and a fantastic story. Now if you want my complaints, it's basically that this guy isn't well-developed, there are several unexplained story threads, and I wish we got more of a conclusive ending.
Riku, just Riku. Common variety Noppon.
And of course, to my mild disappointment, this DLC is not a epilogue DLC, it is a prequel DLC. But it's also a game you shouldn't play until you've completed Xenoblade 3. You know how Xenoblade 3 is technically a game that you can play without playing 1 and 2? Well, this DLC throws all of that right out the window. Early on, it might not seem like it, but there is one scene in the game that will sound like a load of mumbo-jumbo to you if you haven't played the previous games. It's kind of funny how the DLC is the thing that requires you to do this, and not the main game. Though I guess in some ways it does make more sense to do that. Now, like I said, I was a little disappointed initially that this final DLC was going to be a prequel, the first time it was revealed, but once that trailer came out, it gave me hope that this would live up to my expectations.
This time.
Getting to see the protagonist from the previous 2 games immediately ticks off my things I know happy feeling inside of me. It's great to see Rex and Shulk as kind of older and more hardened characters. For Rex, I think it's interesting how he's developed, as he's not really the same character as he was in Xeno 2, as you really aren't the same character from when you're a teenager to when you're an adult. Shulk still keeps most of his core intact, but he's older and mostly wiser than he used to be. Anyways, there are a lot of references to things in previous games, especially to 1 in this pack, which is the main thing I felt was missing from the previous 2 packs.
To me, this was always just junk, but you actually fixed it. Nice.
To me, I miss those days sometimes.
As someone who likes 1 a lot more than 2, this does make me very happy. But there's still no shortage of references to 2, which are equally welcome. To keep this short, yeah, this DLC is basically going to require you to have played 1 and 2, and if you haven't, you're probably not going to get fulfilled out of this one.
I guess words ain't getting through to him.
Odd. You've such a way with words.
While it is derivative of 3, Future Redeem's combat and gameplay loop have some differences due to the fact that it takes place before 3. The Ouroboros powers are not nearly complete. You will still have fusion arts, but you don't get them from other classes. Each character instead possesses 6 arts, which you unlock as the game progresses. It gives each character greater identity, as the class system is also not present. Each character only has a single class, and they're locked to it. Instead, your main goal with characters is just to take them to their strongest form, using gems and accessories to enhance them, as well as other items around the world to unlock slots that you can use to add more accessories, gems, skills, and whatnot. The main piece of customization available is via chain attacks. Before I get there, let's discuss unity combos. So this might all sound kind of foreign to you, so let me explain it really quick. These replace Ouroboros' finisher moves, and each character has a unity move that you can combine with another character for a team attack. These end in smash, blowdown, or burst. There is also the added effect depending on your combo, and you can mix and match these however you want. In chain attacks, these replace Ouroboros orders, so it's the same chain attacks you know from 3, just with a different twist on the finisher. Each of your main party members has a specific chain attack effect that they start off with, but you can customize this using manuals that you find throughout the game. The combat is kind of less customizable than the main game, but that doesn't make it bad. It just means each character generally has a role to fill and prevents specific classes from cannibalizing your entire team composition. Future Redeemed basically just has the same gameplay loop as 3 with a bit less customization. And for a shorter story, that's fine, as adding tons of classes and customization would maybe bloat the overall content load. It's the same way Torna handled Blades in Xenoblade 2's DLC. There's also the affinity chart, which is no longer a required piece, unlike Torna. However, you can use this affinity chart now to level up your skills and enhance your abilities, so it's basically a way of rewarding you for doing side quests and integrating it into the upgrade system, without forcing you to do them completely.
Man, I'm freezing my balls off.
So to sum up my thoughts on this DLC, I think Future Redeemed is absolutely an amazing piece, final chapter of the game, and also a amazing piece to the end of the trilogy for Xenoblade Chronicles. At least so far, there'll probably be more games down the line, but I believe this might be the end of the saga here. And I can't wait to see what's next for the series, but at the same time, the ending of it is bittersweet. Future Redeemed is by and large what I wanted from Xenoblade 3 originally. Not that what we got wasn't great, but this has a lot of elements that I was kind of hoping to find a little bit more of in the main game. At the end of the day, it's excellent, and it packages up these 3 games pretty well. And right here is where I'd usually plug my like and subscribe and comment, blah 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 blah. But we're gonna go into spoiler territory next before I do all of that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about spoilers in the next part, so if you aren't interested in that, or you haven't finished the DLC, or you're watching this to see if you would want to buy the DLC, then you might want to jump off here and maybe come back after you've finished Future Redeemed.
Wow, tough guys, eh? It's a wild ride, this passage of fate. We got ourselves a nice little awakening.
So while I'm ultimately a little disappointed that we didn't get a little wrap-up epilogue with Noah and Mio and the rest of them, I'm not really too bothered by it. I kind of just wanted them to showcase the merging of the worlds a little bit more with the characters that we know and love. But I'm glad they weren't afraid to turn this DLC into something that makes you really feel like you were rewarded for playing the other games. There's so much to unpack here, especially if you've played 1 and 2. But in true Xenoblade fashion, there are still some questions that go unanswered. I was hoping Zed would get some additional development because he's probably my least favorite antagonist in the series. He pretty much acts as the final boss, but N is more of the main antagonist for the game. N sees more action and development in this story, which is always welcome. But I also do want to know how Numa's core crystal is in Matthew's fists, and how Malus's core is even existing after the events of Xenoblade 2. But those are minor concerns over what is offered here. The story pretty much plants a lot of the seeds that are sown in Xenoblade 3's main story, while giving some closure to Shulk and Rex, though it is kind of a shame that none of the characters from the other games are seen in the story at all. I do like that we get a few descendants of the main characters from previous games. It's a nice way to include them without having to do much major explaining. And I guess you could argue that Lucky 7 encompasses all of the Xenoblade 1 cast in some kind of technicality. And I know people are pointing out that the end scene is very Xenosaga-y, which isn't an impossibility in the future, seeing that Nintendo seems to be pretty invested in Monolith Soft's projects, even if they aren't massive hits. But overall, I'm content with this story and DLC. Xenoblade 3 is pretty much cemented as a great game, and this packs up and finishes it with some well-executed fan service that doesn't really feel that forced. And I can't wait to see what Monolith Soft has in store for us next. And I want to know what you think about this DLC pack. So if you have any thoughts, opinions, anything like that, you can leave them down in the comments below. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Xenoblade, Nintendo, Monolith Soft, and JRPG related. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.